Hello, I'm Allison, and welcome to another episode of Listen Now, Read Later, the podcast that leads you to your next favorite novel by reading you short stories. Today we've got your favorite, or at least our favorite, the book club episode.
Yay!
Book club number 4. So we are all here to discuss our episodes 16 through 19, which can you guys believe that those are the numbers we're talking about at this point?
This is our 20th episode.
Yeah! Isn't that amazing? It's
crazy.
also like we're officially in a new calendar year.
Yep.
For this episode, our first episode of 2025.
Oh my gosh.
Which I saw a thing on Instagram that said when 2025 hits, the year 2000 will officially be a quarter of a century ago. And that's terrifying.
And you're a quarter of a century old.
I know! You guys are not
I'm
quite
so
there
young.
yet, but...
Closer than I'd like to be.
Also, like, you could almost listen to our podcast for, like, one whole day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So,
That's so true.
That's so fun. I love that.
Hours worth of
a listen-a-thon,
content,
and it's just
All
stories.
Yes. Which, like, what a better way to spend the day.
You're right.
You know?
Have you seen, they have those, like, 24-hour reading challenges on, like, TikTok and
Oh,
Instagram
really?
Reels. And it's these people, and they just, like, start a 24-hour timer. And then they just, like, sit all day with their friends and read books and see how many they can get through. I don't really understand the 24-hour challenge part. I guess just that you've dedicated 24 hours to reading. But they still, like, eat food and sleep.
Oh, they still sleep.
They still sleep. So it doesn't really feel like that much of a challenge. I personally think I've done that before. But maybe it's like the doing it with your friends or something.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Are they like raising money or is it just for fun?
It's just for fun.
That's cute.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
super
that.
cute.
Yeah, that's a great way to spend some time.
Yeah, some of them, they like, I saw one where they read like physical books. A lot of them read on like a Kindle or something.
Really?
But some of this group read physical books, and then they held up all the physical books they read.
Cute.
Some of them had
That's
read like
cute.
4 books in that time.
Wow.
Which they were not small books either. I don't even know how they finished that many in
That's crazy.
that much time. I'm a much slower reader, I guess.
Yeah,
but
probably.
it's a cute idea.
It is. That makes me think of when I went and visited Katrina, our friend that's in PA school. Her and her roommates, all they did was study for like 2 days straight.
Shout out to people in grad school.
Yep. And I knew this going in, so I had brought some books. But I'm like kind of a slow reader, and like also I haven't sat down for a while. I haven't had a day for a long time to just sit and read. I read like 2.5 books while I was there.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's
That's
really
awesome.
good.
Like, I actually got to read to the point of, okay, I'm ready to do something else, which, you know, like, I haven't been to that point in a while, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love a good read. I'm going, my spring break, that is my plan. Mostly reading.
Nice.
That's going to be great.
Yes.
Read on the beach.
That's the
Oh,
best way to
beautiful.
read.
Or by the pool.
Yes.
Either way.
Yes.
I'm going to get a lot of books done.
That's awesome.
I told my roommate I already packed a lot of books.
Good.
Or, well, I will be packing a lot of
Yeah.
books. I didn't already pack. I'm
You're
not
just
going
that
till
ready
March.
to go.
I'm ready to go to the beach. My suitcase is packed. It's 3 months away.
Hey, sometimes you come home from work and that's what you need to do.
Who are we kidding? I haven't bought the books I'm going to read for that yet.
Well, the ones you pack now will all be right. I'll be right by that.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm definitely going to buy new books
Obviously.
for vacation. So
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Exactly. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
For now, though, unfortunately, we're stuck in the cold, which does kind of fit with the first episode that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
The Northern Attitude episode, gotta love a Noah Kahan
Great
reference, with The Overcoat by Nikolai Gogol, which is, I know for me as a creative writing student, like such a story that gets talked about as like, this brought us to where we are, you know, with short story writing. So it was fun to share that one. But it was also one that got to bring up one of Teresa's favorite books.
That is so true.
So, kind of double whammy.
You know where I first got the book Fairest by Gail Carson Levine from? I was at a Scholastic book fair.
Oh.
No.
Immediately a good memory.
And it was on sale for like $2. So my mom was like, yeah, you can add that one to the stack of the, I'm sure there were books I already wanted to read.
Right.
I have so much good luck from Scholastic book orders and book fairs of just books that I like randomly picked up. I didn't even know, I didn't read Ella Enchanted until I was in college.
I've
I saw
never read
the
it.
movie starring Anne Hathaway many a time.
Of course.
But the book I'd never read, I didn't read until college for like a adolescent lit class.
And that's the same author.
It's the same author, yes. She wrote a bunch of really famous like fairy tale retellings for middle grades. But Fairest I'd always loved. It's so, I say this in the recommendation, it's so rich. It's got so much like world building and lore, but in like a really easy to read way, and it's so funny and clever, which is true of Ella Enchanted as well, and that's why Ella Enchanted is famous for what it is. But I like Ferris better, if I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I'm biased from like my 4th grade Scholastic Book Fair choices or something, but it went well with this story because well, fairy tales honestly remind me of like spooky old places like Russia and Germany and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Very fitting.
I feel like the magical supernatural elements of the overcoat
Yes.
were very kind of like, they were there, but maybe you didn't expect them to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Fairest is also like, there is magic in their world and they know about it, but they mostly just go about their everyday lives.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the magic is also kind of spiteful and unpredictable, and so there are a lot of like similar threads there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fairest is really good, and as I say, in my recommendation, I discovered the audiobook a couple, when did I discover it? I didn't start listening to audiobooks until at least high school, and it was around that time that I found the audiobook on Libby, and it's full cast audio, and a big part of the Fairest book is they sing a lot, like singing is really important to their kingdom, and so they actually like produced like with the music background all of the songs that are in the book, which is really cool because, you know, when there's songs or poems in books and you just skip through them and don't even bother reading them, that's how I read Fairest. But when you listen to it and they're actually singing, it's so good.
Yeah.
So I love that book. I love that part of making this podcast is I just get to talk about all of my favorite books from my childhood and my adulthood for a long period of time, and then I convince people to read them. So
Yes.
but that's definitely one of them. That's one that I recommend all the time. Bought it for my classroom, of course. Have it on my shelf in my bedroom. It's so good.
I love that. And yeah, no, it's true. Like when you come across songs in a book, I have such respect for the people who can do that, who can like write a song to go with their book. But I do the same thing. I like panic when I see it because my brain feels like, oh, well, you should sing this in your head as you're reading. But then I can't come up with a melody that matches the number of syllables.
Really
Yeah.
And it just, and I get caught on a loop of like starting over and trying, like this is why I didn't make it through Two Towers. Like I read The Hobbit, I was like, great. I got through first Lord of the Rings book, got through halfway through the second one, and I was like, I can't do these songs anymore. I just wasn't making any progress because I would be like trying to figure out these songs in my head.
My brain goes, oh, a song. There's probably some sort of symbolic connection to the characters and story. I don't want to deal with that. Just tell me what's going on. It's probably fine. I probably don't need that. Sorry to authors that put songs in books, but
You know what's really fun is reading A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes after some of the songs had already come out. From
oh,
the
that's
movie.
good.
So I had Rachel Zegler's voice in my head.
Nice.
Which is a very good voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it is always so fun. Like, that was one of the, I mean, I feel like we can't have a book club episode without talking about the Hunger Games for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a tradition at this point.
Counting down the days. It's not too, I mean, we're in 2025 now. It's the year of the new Hunger Games book.
I mean, I'm starting my reread any day now because I'm determined to read all 4 books and then just perfectly pick up
That's not a bad
the
idea,
next-
actually.
the next book.
Genius. Yeah.
This is my goal. Because I haven't reread the books in ages.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
been a while
reread
for
them in a
me,
long
too.
time. And I've only read Mockingjay once, and I really think it would be cool to read that book as an adult. I've always felt that maybe I would appreciate it better now.
Yeah, maybe it'd be less boring.
Right. Like, maybe I would understand better what she's doing now.
Yeah.
And I also think it'd be cool to reread Songbirds and Snakes with the original fresher in my head.
Yeah. The movie made me appreciate that book, so I feel, or like, the movie made me like the story, so maybe I would like it more if I reread it now.
Yeah. Well, and the book has, like, depth into Snow's character that you just, like, can't see on the screen, because, like, when every word out of someone's mouth is a lie, you can't, like, if you can't show it the inside of their head, it's a lot harder to make that clear.
Absolutely.
But regardless, the reason I brought it up is because in the Mockingjay movies, getting to finally hear, like, the lullaby and the hanging tree and, like, really give it a melody after all this time of being like, I kind of have a way of singing it in my head, you know, was just so exciting. Like, I love those.
It was.
That's fun.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, well, the next book after that, so we talked about a book Teresa loves. The next book after that came from Megan, because we recommended the No-Show in relation to two Chekhov stories. And before we get into the No-Show, I do kind of feel like in my head this is our Thanksgiving episode, because at Christmas time, even though it's named at Christmas time, was recorded at a Friendsgiving, and then The Malefactor was recorded at my family Thanksgiving, because we basically said, oh, you're here for turkey, please also be on our podcast.
Yes, and then we recommended a Valentine's Day book.
So it's really just a holiday
episode. Holiday special. So many shows have, like, specific holidays that they're famous for, right? Mm-hmm. Like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is famous for Halloween.
New Girl Thanksgiving.
Exactly. So what is our show's holiday?
All of them.
Friends Valentine's.
Friends Valentine's Miss. When you need people you know to read a story, you do have to get them when you have them.
It's true. It's true.
Hijack them at Friendsgiving.
Yes.
Yep.
So thank you to everyone who was at Friendsgiving, who didn't know they were going to become a voice actor, and now they are.
And to my cousins who, between dinner and dessert, I was like, come to my bedroom. We're going to read a story.
Very ominous. And it's gonna be was that one of the
it was a Russian one too. But I will say they actually understood that one.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So that's the first Russian story that we finished recording it, and the people who read it blind for us have actually been like, that was funny. And I was like, yes, it was. I'm glad you understood that.
There didn't need to be a round of, so what was the story about?
Which I got multiple times with that Christmas time.
Yes. Well, who doesn't love guessing at what the Russians are even talking about?
Well, and I do, like, I think when you're reading something out loud that you haven't read before, you're not necessarily processing what you're saying. You're just kind of trying
to read it and say it well.
Right.
Yes.
But we did have a really fun time trying to finish at Christmas time, because at the very end, one of the characters is speaking French about a shower, but the French word for shower sounds like an American insult.
Yes, it does.
And
it's the same word.
Yes, and one of our very kind-hearted male friends was very uncomfortable.
That's fair.
Yep.
He does have a child, you know.
Yeah.
You can't be going around saying those things around your children.
He's like, you want to record me saying this word? I think we ended up having him kind of like fudge the pronunciation to make him feel a little better.
In a French way.
Yeah.
Who knows how to pronounce those words?
Exactly. But I did not know that apparently in the like late 1800s they used high pressure showers as a medical treatment.
For
I don't know what for, but that's what they were referring to in this story. Yeah, because when we were trying to make sure we pronounced it right, so I like Googled it, and it was like, yes, a high pressured shower used as a medical thing in the. And it was like,
sure. I mean,
ice bath.
I have no idea.
Like
a shower does. A shower does really help when you're not feeling well.
It does.
So maybe
and it can clear your sinuses
That's true.
if it's hot.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's some healing powers.
Yeah.
They knew things.
Yeah.
Some things.
Yeah. But yeah, and then of course the No-Show, which
The No-Show is fantastic. I mean, Teresa, you also read it, but
I did.
I love it's Beth O'Leary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really love Beth O'Leary. I have been making my way through all of her books, and I didn't really know what to expect from that one. I think I actually might have even talked about it in the last book club.
Yeah,
we had,
I think you
because I was
did.
like, I don't really know how this is gonna play out, but it seems like really fun, and it was really fun, but also like kind of packed more of an emotional punch than I expected.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is really cool. But she tends to do that, and I like romances that have that undercurrent of like self-discovery or grief or dealing with other relationships in your life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like In 5 Years or
Yes.
Emily Henry's.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Love all those.
We do. I had a great experience reading that book. Well, we wanted a book that was like about misunderstandings. That was the connection between the stories and the novel this time around. And we all were like, okay, we want a rom-com because misunderstanding is a classic trope of a rom-com.
Yes.
And we've read a lot of rom-coms. And so we're going through them, and you had been talking about that one for the last book club, and we were like, oh, we should do that one. We should. And so I said I would read it. Then a couple weeks pass. And Allison says, I need the rec for this episode. And I say, what did we say we were going to do for that one? And she says, the No-Show. And I say, uh-oh, I haven't read that one yet.
Good thing it's on Megan's shelf.
Good thing it's on Megan's shelf. And so I didn't have anything to do that Friday night or Saturday morning. And so
Perfect.
I started reading the book at 6 p.m. on Friday night, and I finished it at about noon on Saturday noon.
Exactly.
Nice.
So
just like the 24-hour readathon.
So it was like
Exactly.
the 24-hour readathon.
You did it and you didn't even know it.
I know, and I didn't even need 24 hours.
No, easy
But
money.
that it's been a while since I like binge read a book like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like good timing. And usually I'm so bad with assigned reading.
Yeah.
Like, so in high school in creative writing class, which you guys weren't in with me, which is very sad.
Very sad.
I like knew no one in that class. I just had to write stories for Mr. Nations. But one of the things he had us write was like we had to write a list, and then we're supposed to like explain the list and like kind of flesh it out to make it kind of autobiographical. And I did my list about assigned reading I actually liked, because I don't know what it is with me, because I've always loved books.
Yeah.
But I hate assigned reading. I
Really?
hate being told to read something.
So
It makes me
because
read
now
it so
you
much
assign
slower.
reading.
I
This
know.
is
and
true.
now I assign the reading. So I literally this was senior year of high school, and I had like actually, I think like 6 books that I had actually liked.
Oh my gosh.
Like that we read in class or that I
Yeah.
had to read for homework. And so I'm really bad with deadlines and reading. So the fact that I was able to read this book is kind of, maybe that's maturity. I'm mature now. I can do things that I'm told to do on a time-sensitive basis.
Growth.
But I did also procrastinate. So, like, I think those two things cancel each other out.
Well, it also is probably a testament to the book, right? Like, I'm the only
Yes.
one who hasn't
Too.
read it yet, but that
That's
does
true.
feel like a good
It was
endorsement
an
for why I
excellent
should pick it up.
It was more of a Percy Jackson than a Lord of the Flies. You know? Like, no problem reading Percy Jackson for assigned reading. Big problem reading Lord of the Flies at age 14 in my nice comfy beanbag chair at home, reading about these boys murdering each other over nothing.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about that. Or Grendel.
Oh, Grendel. I don't remember having a problem with Lord of the Flies, but Grendel, did anyone like that book?
Who would? I brought it up to my college English professor,
Yeah.
my freshman year of college. I was like, have you ever heard of the book Grendel? Because I think we read Beowulf or a piece of Beowulf in my like introduction to English studies class. There were only like 6 of us in this class, so I could talk to my professor or whatever. And he was like, I think I have heard of that book. It came out in the 70s, so that was a weird time for literature. I was like, why did they decide to make Grendel one of the most famous villains of all time, most famous monsters of all time, why did they decide to make him a philosopher? And he was like, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right.
The best explanation. For
I
that
feel
book.
justified for not liking this book.
Yeah.
If my English professor does not think very highly of it. But
Well, it was so funny because in my master's, they had us read The Art of Fiction, which is a well-known how to write fiction book by the author of Grendel.
what?
And he, like, this is a well-respected, like, canon writing book.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm, like, reading this, and I didn't remember the name of the guy who
yeah,
wrote
I
Grendel.
couldn't tell you what it was.
No, I still can't tell you what the name of the guy is. But I'm reading this, and I'm like, okay, he's got some good advice. And, like, there were some ways he was kind of outdated and stuff, but, like, he had some good advice. And I flipped to the, like, back cover, and it's like, so-and-so is the author of Grendel. And I'm like, what? What?
Ridiculous.
I'm like, I don't see how your advice got you to Grendel.
I don't either.
I was like, this is strange. And yeah.
And really hard to read.
Yeah.
Well, and also,
Oh,
why
no.
did the Zodiac have to be involved?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even remember the Zodiac being involved.
I don't
That's how
remember
much was
the
going on
Zodiac
in
Oh,
that.
What I remember is the dragon was also a philosopher. And the
Yeah.
dragon chapter was literally unreadable. Like, I could not
I
read
mostly
it.
remember his mommy issues.
Yes, there was that.
That is the thing that's
Which is, that's in the original story.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of. All of the stuff in Grendel was kind of in the original story.
Yeah.
But the thing about the original story is it's like the first written story in English
Yeah.
ever. And
and that's kind of the only reason it's
you
still
didn't
around.
need to remake it.
Yeah.
You didn't. You didn't. I mean, maybe these are hot takes, but if you're an English professor out there and you think very highly of Grendel, think about why.
And email us, because
Is
we'd
it-
love to know.
Is it just because you think it sounds really cool?
Hmm.
Because if that's the reason, you need to come up with more
Because
reasons.
it's attached to Beowulf. That's why.
Yeah. Beowulf, by all means. Very, like, for never
really
having
writing.
written anything in English before, like, good job, you know?
Really writing on the Beowulf over here.
I read Beowulf so many times at college, oh my gosh. It's like I was an English major or something.
Yeah, it's gonna come up.
Yeah. But
You
anyway,
heard me, an English major.
I'll laugh at the worst financial decision I made.
We finally got a John Mulaney reference
Yes.
on the podcast.
No, but all this to say, the no-show is better than Beowulf.
That's the hot take of this episode. No show by Beth O'Leary.
You need to, like, write Beth O'Leary a
But-
note and be like, this is the praise that I have for you.
Beth O'Leary is Irish, right?
Presumably.
Yeah.
Oh, she could
Her
be.
Does
books
she
are all
think
very British, UK.
So, like, is there a rivalry there
I
with
don't know.
Beowulf? Or
She-
do you think British, or do you think Irish people are like, well, we also speak English, but, like, you know
They
what I'm saying?
didn't back then.
I guess you're right.
Yeah,
So
probably.
maybe this would be like a national, I don't know, war we're starting by declaring.
Between the British and the Irish.
We're starting a war.
I don't think the Irish like the British very much anyway.
That's
I was
what I'm
gonna say,
saying.
there's
That's
already
what
a
I'm
lot
saying.
of fodder there.
We're the kindling. No, I'm just kidding.
I think if she is Irish, it would make her very happy.
Yes, it's a,
Probably.
it was,
Like, you did
A
better
great
than the
book.
Brits.
and yeah, and even though I was assigned to read it by myself, I enjoyed it. So
We're very glad.
yes,
Well, after our crazy 3 holidays in one episode, we took a more, simple approach and did 2 Christmas holiday episodes. Because, we gotta celebrate the Christmas time.
Yes, we do.
So we started with The Gift of the Magi, which I had my first moment of, I don't know if I get it. Like, I read the ending, and I was like, okay, I'm really not quite sure, because he calls them not wise, but then he says they're the wisest of them all.
yeah.
But they're not, how can they be both?
Well, first time reading The Gift of the Magi?
I don't know. It felt so familiar, but I also don't know if
Have
it's
you
because it's been
seen-
done so many times. Like, of course I've seen Mickey Mouse.
Mickey's Once
remade
Upon
it.
a
Right.
Christmas.
Of course. I grew up on Mickey's
Yeah.
Once Upon a
Yeah.
Christmas.
That's what I know it
Classic.
from.
right.
A
So that's
classic.
A classic.
of course. And so that's where I'm like, I couldn't tell if I had actually read it before
Yeah.
or if I hadn't. I did think it was really funny. I had my parents read Della and Jim, and my dad is a Jim. So it was really kind of cute having my
That's
mom be
cute.
like, "Oh, Jim." But yeah, I was like, I think I get what he's trying to say at the end. But I also, like, it felt like it was my moment that everyone's been having with the Russian stories that I pick
Yeah.
to be like,
Yeah.
Well, there's like it's an unfortunate ending. Like it's unfortunate the way that
Right.
everything panned out. But I don't know. I guess
at least
it's
our
just
hair
like
grow back.
yeah, but,
Yeah.
and it's like they love each other a
Yeah.
lot,
That's
Yeah.
what
and
I
they
think
gave
most of it
everything they
is.
had
Yeah.
for each
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
to
And
be happy
for
to have this
sure.
one special gift, and they gave so much
Yeah.
Yeah.
that everything got reversed.
It's
Yeah.
like ironic because they both kind of canceled each other out, but also
Yeah.
their love is like
Right.
what
Right.
the real gift is.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
it's a
Yeah.
very sweet.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet story.
Yeah.
And it is funny, like, realizing that it's probably the first time that was done because, you know, like, I was reading this story with my parents and I was like, I told them the premise beforehand and my mom's like, "Oh, that's been done so many times." And I'm like,
Because this is the
right.
yeah,
And
they
I'm
were
like, but
redoing
this is from
This is what they're
1905.
So before I started recording my recommendation, I wanted to like double check that it was Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and
Yeah.
not Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
Mhm, yeah.
That
Did you
redid
watch
this
the whole
story.
thing?
No, I didn't rewatch the whole thing. But I went on Wikipedia and I looked at all of the places the story is referenced.
Oh, wow.
And it is so long. Like, it's been
bet.
redone in so many different TV shows and
I'm
movies
sure.
and Christmas specials. And it's just a very famous story. So
Yeah.
that's, like, the reason it's
Yeah.
been done before is because they keep redoing this.
Right. Well, and it also, like, it is a good message that, like, hey, you know, I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
gets to, it's the thought that counts and
Yeah.
Right.
to give is better to receive. I mean, these are age-old
Right.
things.
It's also kind of a timeless story structure.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It doesn't really have to be set in any particular
No.
time or place. It's like obviously because it's been done over and
Yeah.
over
Right.
again.
Well,
in
and
all these different places.
anybody can relate to wanting to buy a gift for someone they love and not being able to, and what can I do? And yeah.
It's a dramatic irony of, I know that he's doing this and she's
Yes,
doing this. They're
yes.
going to cancel each other out.
Yep.
And yeah, that's all
I think
in
they
there.
even did it on Phineas and Ferb, if I remember
It's
right.
Very,
I think
like,
that was one of
yeah.
the ones on the
that's
list.
like the perfect storyline for a sitcom.
Oh,
Honestly.
yeah.
It is.
for
A
sure.
misunderstanding.
Very sitcom,
It's
yes.
very situational. Yes.
So it's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the Mickey Mouse version. It's
Oh,
pretty
yes.
cute.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I was so glad you brought that up in
Yes.
your recommendation. I thought that was great.
Yes.
I also had a lot of fun doing the research for my intro because Oh, Henry is a crazy story.
I know. I was listening
Um.
to that. I was listening to the episode, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, no, so he first of all, at one point apparently owned the Rolling Stone, and I don't know if it's the
The
same
magazine?
Well, yeah, but it sounded like maybe it was a different magazine. I don't know. I was like, because it sounded like it wasn't covering music.
Okay.
But it said he owned a publication called the Rolling Stone,
Interesting.
which was so random. And then he got caught embezzling, and he flees to Nicaragua before trial. But I guess he leaves his wife here, and she catches tuberculosis and is dying. And so the only reason he comes back is to be able to take care of her on her deathbed, which I guess they let him do because he goes to prison like right after she dies.
Oh my
So I guess they
goodness.
like said, okay, you can take care of her. And then he goes to jail. And then he keeps publishing stories while in jail.
Sure, why
Wow.
not?
Which, like, today, there are, like, incarcerated writer initiatives.
yeah.
But in the 1900s, I was
Yeah.
not expecting that in, like, 1900
Ones that,
whatever.
like, lasted too.
Yeah. And then,
1905.
and then he, gets out on good behavior and ends up dying at, like, before he's 50.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was crazy. Also, our episode came out exactly on the same day that Gift of the Magi was published.
That's pretty cute.
Just
my
119
gosh.
years later.
Wow.
That's really
Isn't
cool.
that
Cute
cool?
of us.
I know, right? It's almost like it was planned. We didn't know that obviously until we did, but
Oh, Henry did. No.
he put the spirit. But yeah, I was like, what a wild ride. I was reading this man's Wikipedia page and
So when we were deciding what to recommend to go with that episode, then we were like, what are some Christmas books that we know? And I was so excited because I got to recommend a book by Christina Lauren.
which I did not know was more than one person until I listened to your recommendation.
Yes.
That was so fun to find out.
Christina Lauren, they're a writing team. One of them's first name is Christina and the other one's first name is Lauren.
I love that so much.
Yeah, and they've written so many books that I love. But this is the first one I read, actually. I got it from Book of the Month. I don't remember how I got to Book of the Month. I think I might have signed up for like a free one, or maybe there was some sort of deal, and then I accidentally paid for it like 2 or 3 more times. Which I'm actually okay with, because every single book that Book of the Month sent me was good. And I loved it every single time.
That's awesome.
So if you're ever a book box person, and it was like a pretty good deal. I feel it was like $15 or something.
Oh,
wow. But yes, so this is the first book I got. It is so cute. Aww. It is just an adorable, it's Groundhog Day, but Christmas.
That's cute.
And
another holiday that we can add to our
yes,
repertoire.
exactly. Read that one. I've got Groundhog Day in there. And I'm a girl that loves a tradition. I love a routine. I love a tradition, especially around Christmas time. And the main character in this book, I think she's late 20s or something. But she has been going to this cabin with her family and her parents' friends from college for years and years and years. And her parents have gotten divorced and they still go to this cabin. I think both of them, actually. And then her parents' friends' kids also come, and they were like always friends when they were younger. And then, she was in love with the older brother, but the younger brother was her age, so they were friends. And like they all slept in the same room until the older brother was like, I gotta move out to the shed. And that's where he sleeps now. And it's like, I don't know, it's very cute, and like it's very romantic and snowy, and they're up in the mountains at Christmas.
I love that.
And it's that like, yeah, it's just like a very Christmassy, sweet book. And like The Gift of the Magi, they talk a lot about why do we spend Christmas with our families? Like, why are the people the things that we remember about Christmas? And so that's a really good piece of it too.
Yeah, I love that.
Highly recommend in the holidays.
Yeah.
And I don't even have it on my shelf right now because I lent it to someone for Christmas.
I love that.
Yes, so
cute.
good.
But no, I do like that piece you just brought to it too. That part of it, it's not just that the thought matters more than the gift, but it's also that kind of that feeling that Della has in The Gift of the Magi of, it's not going to be Christmas if I don't get to show my husband that I love him, and that's what is such a big part of the holiday.
Yeah.
And that's part of why it matters so much. And yeah, it's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the reason that we're giving the gifts.
Right.
Like to show our love and care for people.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
so I think that thread is also evident in the holidays, and it's evident in a lot of Christmas books. Which
Absolutely.
is
Well, and
fun.
it shows up in our other Christmas story that we did with a Christmas inspiration, and the inspiration they have is to kind of all these young girls get together and use what money they have left over when they realize that one of their roommates is not receiving any Christmas packages in the mail at their boarding house. And it really makes that woman's day, year, you know, like they write her this really heartfelt note to go with it, and she says how she's gonna like read it over and over again, and how she laughed and cried and how this like just meant so much to her. And like the girls talk about how like they'd already bought all their other Christmas gifts, so they don't necessarily have a lot of money left, but they used what they have to try to give her something special. And it's just so sweet. And it's written by L.M. Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables, and you can just feel that innocence and that love and that just grandiosity, but not in a bad way, like in that sense of someone who's just so full of life that everything they do feels big and hopeful and dramatic, but not like dramatic in a bad way, dramatic in like I'm gonna be on a Broadway show, you know. Like it's just so fun and so great,
which is what you love in your Christmas story.
Yes.
You know, like it's all about the spectacle, but in a very celebratory way.
Right. Like this is why we love a good Hallmark movie. Like we want to feel larger than life and sparkly, and like that's how the holiday is supposed to feel.
Yes, absolutely. So with this book, then we recommended The Santa Suit, which is a sweet novella. And what I like about it is it's definitely got that like Hallmark movie-esque vibe. Like there's definitely the like little romance elements and stuff, but you can tell there's like a deeper story, and it even feels like they're answering the question early. So this girl moves to a new town after a divorce, and she buys a random farmhouse, and when she gets to the farmhouse, all the stuff is left in it. And she's going through the stuff, and she finds this beautifully wrapped box among all the very old things that haven't been touched in years. I mean, she opens it, and it's this beautifully kept Santa suit, like a real like velvet and satin and fur Santa suit. And in one of the pockets is a letter from a little girl who asked Santa to bring her father home from the war, and it's like dated to Vietnam. And so she wants to know, why is this letter in this Santa suit still? And why, like, what happened? Like, did the father come home? And some of those questions are answered actually pretty early in the story, but you're still like pulled through because you still want to know, like it's clear there's more there. And that kind of feels, that's like mostly the main plot, but there's all these other like side things. And it feels, what does it feel like? It's just a very, very simple, like, I don't know, very domestic, like this girl's fixing up the house and getting to know the small town. And
warm and cozy.
Yes, it is extremely cozy. That's what it is. And just like the story of the girls. And,
Well, and that like kind of that sense of it's Christmas time, and so you're thinking about doing something for others, and maybe doing that thing for others actually pays back to you in a way you don't expect.
It's very clear that like this woman, she needed a purpose, she needed something to do, and she found a good place to find those things. Like she found a good place to put her frustrations and her nervous energy and all of that.
I love that.
It's a sweet story.
Love that.
That's awesome. Well, those are all the episodes we were going to talk about. So before we finish up, what are you guys reading right now?
What are we reading right now? Megan?
I can start. I've been reading a lot. So
we love.
I've been on a like rom-com romance kick.
Nice.
But most recently I finished The Love of My Afterlife, which I think is a pretty recent.
I love the title.
I know, that's what I said earlier.
It was really fun. It was really cute, and so the situation is like this girl who's kind of like a homebody, like she doesn't really have any family or friends or anything like that. She has this one older man that lives in her building, her neighbor, that she takes care of, but that's pretty much it. She like chokes on her food one day and like is taken to the afterlife, or more like an afterlife waiting room, and has this like quirky afterlife therapist who's like really goofy and just very fun. and she meets this guy in the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
And
The love of her afterlife?
Maybe. It turns out he wasn't supposed to be there. He was, like, under anesthesia for a surgery.
Oh.
So it was, like, a mistake, a glitch in the system.
Oh, she's got to get back to our world then.
So she does very
Or he
quickly.
has to die.
But her afterlife therapist is like, my bosses wouldn't really like this. So you have 10 days before my boss gets back from vacation to find this guy, and if he kisses you of his own free will...
So it's like a Little
can
Mermaid
stay.
Yeah, it's
deal.
like the Little
It
Mermaid.
is.
Oh
It
my
is.
gosh, I love that.
I
And
like
she's
it
like,
too.
if he kisses you, you can stay.
Oh, okay.
So...
Only if he kisses you.
Only if he kisses... So
I love that.
It's very fun, it's very interesting, it's very, like... It plays out unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
And just things go differently than you'd expect. And she also... I like that the romance is, like, the driving plot, but there's also the subplots of her, like, collecting all these friends on her adventures to find this guy, because she only knows his first name.
Yeah. Oh my
he's
gosh.
somewhere in London.
Oh, well, at least she knows that.
Yeah.
Well, she lives in London.
Oh, okay.
But
That's convenient.
very convenient.
Maybe that's how the waiting room works. Maybe there's a waiting room for each, like, major location.
Yeah.
Where would we go to St. Louis, or would we have to go to, like, Chicago?
No, St. Louis is major enough. I stand by the fact that St. Louis gets its own waiting room.
Depends on if they have a shortage of afterlife therapists.
We gotta go to the Midwest branch.
But it's fun to watch her, like, collect friends and make new relationships along the way, so that she kind of discovers the point of living.
Yeah.
And she realizes in that moment when she's, like, dying, like, I haven't really lived the way that I want to. So
Yeah.
it's very cool.
That's good.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
very
Kind of
cool.
makes me think of Midnight Library.
Yeah, it does.
I haven't read that one, but I need to.
you
Yeah,
got
I saw a lot of
There's
people
less
compare it to that.
romance in the Midnight Library, I think.
Yeah.
It's okay. I like a good just fiction book anyways.
For sure.
My turn?
Sure.
Okay. I am currently reading A Queen's Game. A Queen's Game, I'm pretty sure. It's by Catherine McGee. It's her newest book. Catherine McGee is the author of American Royals, is her most famous series. And I loved most of American Royals. It kind of, like, petered out in the end. But American Royals is, like, just, like, reading a gossip magazine as a novel about if America had royalty. And A Queen's Game I think it's about real women who are living in the Victorian era
Oh, okay.
and the scandals and gossip and drama that was happening at that
fun.
time.
Aw.
So I'm not super far into it yet, but I've, like, met each of the characters. And what I love about Catherine McGee is she always does different perspectives. And there's always, like, secrets for each person. It's like some sort of big scandal secrets that's going to ruin their life if anyone finds out. And then you find out, but you don't even know in the beginning. So it's fun. It's exciting. I'm excited to read more of it because I live for the drama, you know? Other people's drama.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
Yes.
Other people's drama.
Fictional
Yes.
characters'
Fictional
drama. Historical fictional characters
Mrs.
drama.
Whistledown written all over it.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's the vibe. This one is YA though, so
That's fine.
a little different.
A
but
little more safe for work.
yeah, but it's it's fun. So I'm
I love
excited
that.
to keep reading.
Cool. I feel like I'm on such a different end of the spectrum. I've been listening to, I'm about halfway through John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed, which is a collection of essays where he takes, like, things that have happened or phenomena or what, like, items or whatnot, and he, like, reviews it, but instead of staying objective, he, like, goes into the history of it and then his personal experience with it and kind of ties it together. And it's just been really interesting. He reads the audiobook, and I, in middle school, definitely went through my Vlogbrothers phase, and so, like, just hearing his voice again is kind of nostalgic for me. And I've always loved his writing style.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I was able to convince one of the schools I work at to let me assign the book.
Oh.
Which usually adjuncts have no power over textbooks, but I'm teaching a class that's never been taught before, and so they were
Oh,
kind of
nice.
like, pick something. And I picked like a real textbook. And then I was like, can I also slide this in there, please? Because I want to have the students read some of the essays, and then I want them to write their own review of something of their choosing.
That's a good idea.
Because I was like, this is just so fun. And like, I've really learned, I hated writing about myself as a student, but apparently a lot of students really love being asked to write about their own experiences.
I really struggled writing about myself.
See, you know a lot about yourself, so sometimes it's easier to write about yourself.
I think it's one of those things where, like, I never felt confident writing about myself, and I always felt I could write so much better about other topics, but I think for the students I'm teaching who typically struggle with English in the classes I have, like you said, it's something they know, and it's something they feel like, okay, I'm an expert on this. I can talk about this. I have ideas on this already.
I like it framed in that way, too, like reviewing something, too, instead of, like, tell me your life story. And
right.
It's like, give me a topic and show me you through this
I think that makes a difference, too. Like, telling them, okay, tell me a story about this kind of event, or, pick something that you have a connection to.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be really fun. Yeah, and so, and I also just, like, I love that they're going to get to do this and, like, have this book and read this book. So,
that's a cool project.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Well, so it's the start of 2025. What are you going to set your Goodreads book goal at?
Very good question.
So this is the first year in a couple years, or 2024 was the first year in a couple years that I have not met my goal. Yes. I was very upset with myself. I got cocky is what happened. Like, in grad school, I had to read so much, and I was hitting my goal. And then my last semester of grad school, I had finished most of my assigned reading, and I was going through fantasy books like nobody's business because I was alone in my apartment, and I would just sit and read. And I went through a really great list of books that just really you could sit down and read.
You killed the A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Oh my gosh, I read those probably in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was March, and I think I had read 20 books. Like, it was insane.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I was just going through them constantly. And then I moved back home.
And now you have a job.
And I also just
plural.
like, I have a job that I have to read for, so that like does stuff. But I also like, I get home and like I'm on a very different work schedule than my parents, and so like when they finally are home, it's like I guess I should talk to them,
Ridiculous.
Like it's not like I can just like
talking to the people you live with.
When I was in my apartment alone, it was like, yeah, nobody's here. I can read for the next 4 hours. I don't get that to the same degree anymore.
How much could I read if I lived alone?
Oh, it was amazing how much I read. It was like I was back in middle school.
A book a day.
It was crazy. And so I upped my reading goal based on how things were looking in like April. I was like, well, I'm already halfway there. I can't do this now. And I got too cocky. So this year, I don't know. I had been doing a good like 40 or 50 books a year. I might set it for 30 this year because the first half of this year I'm still teaching classes I've never taught before, and that's just a time suck like no other. So
yeah, I always set it at 50 at the beginning, and then at the summertime when I've read 50 I'll be like, okay, I guess I can bump it up.
You give yourself a safety net.
Yes, I do. But maybe I'll start at 75 this year and just
challenge yourself.
Challenge myself.
Yeah. I say go for it.
I have not been listening at the end of 2024. I hadn't been listening to a lot of books as much as I had in the past. I gotta get back on that. I really do.
I've been kind of doing that too. I have not been listening in the car like I had been. That's why I'm kind of still halfway through Anthropocene Review.
Yes. Why I had to play catch up on 30 books because I don't listen to audiobooks.
Yeah.
So
that's a great. Yeah, that's my secret, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 2 times speed makes a whole difference.
2 times speed.
Goodness gracious.
Psychologically too, I'm like, I can read a book really fast because I'm listening to it on 2 times speed.
Really motivates you.
Even though sometimes I can read a book faster than 2 times speed if I'm just like sitting and reading a book. I just have to have the time to do just that.
Right.
And in the car, what else am I going to do?
True. It's true.
Listen to music and stare off into space. sometimes that's what I do instead.
Yeah. Hopefully with your eyes on the road.
Yeah. Usually.
Into the space that is the road.
Right.
Into this space. I drive the same way every day. It's
No,
the same traffic, same people.
It really is a dangerous combination when you have the exact same commute all the time. And it's a long commute.
No one's
because
there. I got the cruise control on. It does not take a lot of brain power to drive to work.
Megan, what's your goal?
Well, okay, this past year I did 30 because I don't listen to audiobooks. So physically reading,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I upped that for this past year to challenge myself because the year before I did 20. I was like, I'm not in college anymore. I can boost it up a little bit. And then I was playing catch up by the end of the year. And it was great. I love reading a ton of books all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm considering leaving it at 30 maybe for now.
Yeah.
And saying like I don't want to go backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
You could always split the difference at 25 too.
I could.
But I think you can do 30.
I want to do that.
I think you can do 30. I think you can do it.
Lower
like
it.
admitting defeat.
No, I get it.
Which it isn't. I'm not competing against myself, but I am.
It is a competition.
But we are.
Past me.
I won an A+ in my reading challenge.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's just like you don't want to end this year. I had that sense of I don't want to look at it because I know it's gonna say I didn't meet my reading goal, and it's like
sad.
Yeah, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You need the
But I
validation.
figure I could set it at 30, and if I, start moving through books quicker because I've kind of been on the kick from December, or maybe I start picking up audiobooks, and I can always up it. So, yeah.
Well, and if you're ever looking for an audiobook to start with, this Anthropocene Reviewed one is really nice because they're individual essays.
Yeah.
And so, the longest chapter, I think, is 23 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's really nice because I get it. Some days I'm driving a while, but some days it's I'm in the car for 15-minute spots.
Exactly.
But I have a lot of 15-minute spots.
That's true.
And if I listen to stuff at work, it's I'm pausing stuff all the time.
Right.
People are coming in and we're having conversations.
Yeah, so that's what I like about this book is what I usually do is I listen to it with the chapter end timer on, and then it turns off before the next one starts, and I can kind of evaluate, okay, do I want to listen to the next one or not? Because they're just individual essays,
Strategy. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yeah, because I was considering starting with something like that, or maybe a book that I've read before.
Yeah, which the Cinder audiobooks are to die for.
I do love a reread as an audiobook.
Yeah, especially as an
you don't have to
introductory
focus.
way,
Yeah. No, I am. I've listened to all the Lunar Chronicle books as audiobooks twice now, and I am always blown away by those recordings. They're wonderful. I just got
my sister into Lunar Chronicles.
Yes. So you can do a read along. Yes.
I love that.
Also, it would be a really fun reread because I know I could listen to audiobooks if I was familiar with the content at least, because I listen to Gilmore Girls like it's a podcast on my way to work sometimes.
Yeah. I love that.
I could do a book that I've read before.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think you should do it. Highly recommend audiobooks.
For sure.
I always have. The other reason I always start my I always set my expectations low at the beginning for my Goodreads goal is because I'm always gonna have 2020 Teresa on my shoulder. She read 106 books or something. I am never gonna do that again. I am never gonna be able to do that again.
Maybe retirement.
Yeah, you're right. When I'm retired,
Yes.
I will read 100 books again, maybe. But yeah,
just go through all of those Harlequin romance.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that'll be me. Be the old lady by the pool with the romance novel. That's a dream.
Yes.
So funny.
Well, on that note, we hope that 2025 is a very book-filled year for all of you out there in podcast land. And
they're never going to be without a book because we're always telling them what to read.
You have no excuse.
If you don't know what to read, you come talk to us.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah.
Close us out?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Listen Now, Read Later. Follow us on Instagram for fun extras and updates on our next episode. Want to support local booksellers and this podcast? Buy any of the books we talked about today through our bookshop.org affiliate store. Now it's time for you to go read your many books, and we'll catch you when you listen later.